telling the owners of about 61,000 older Corolla, Matrix, RAV4, and Pontiac Vibe models to stop driving them because their Takata airbag inflators are at risk of exploding. The urgent warning Monday covers certain Corolla compact cars and Matrix hatchbacks from the 2003 and 2004 model years, as well as the RAV4 small SUV from 2004 and 2005. Also covered are about 11,000 Pontiac Vibes from 2003 and 2004, which are essentially the same as the Matrix and were made at the same California factory. Most of the vehicles
being a gypsy, or that's the spirit of my life, and I'm really so lucky to be able to do what I love.
Her life spirit, as she expressed, was in movement, storytelling, and singing. Rivera received the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2009 and 2013. She served as the marshal at the Puerto Rican Day Parade in New York City. Stephanie Sikal, NTD News.
54 adults were rescued. 11 children were rescued. 40 suspected traffickers and exploiters were arrested. 271 sex buyers were also arrested. In total, there were 539 criminal arrests made during this week-long operation.
Sheriff Luna shared a sex trafficking case where a juvenile was at the Parkway Plaza Mall in San Diego when she was approached.
When she was approached by an unknown male Hispanic who told her she should be a model, he presented her with a business card which read, "Hiring models for downtown gig, work for money," the girl called it. The number and the male told her that she would be doing date sex with guys in hotels.
She showed her mother the card, who reported it to the police department and resulted in the arrest of the human trafficker. The youngest victim rescued through Operation Reclaim and Rebuild this year was 14 years old. However, she had been trafficked since she was 13.
This week-long operation demonstrates that if you engage in human trafficking activities, harm children, and destroy lives, there will be absolute consequences, and there is no refuge for predators in the state of California.
Including Facebook's Mark Zuckerberg of being responsible for social media's deadly impact.
But as investigations have detailed, social media and messaging apps have also given predators powerful new tools to sexually exploit children. Your carefully crafted algorithms can be more a powerful force on the lives of our children than even the most best-intentioned parent. Discord has been used to groom, abduct, and abuse children. Meta's Instagram helped connect and promote a network of pedophiles. Snapchat's disappearing messages have been co-opted by criminals who financially extort young victims. TikTok has become a, quote, platform of choice for predators to access, engage, and groom children for abuse. And the prevalence of CSAM on X has grown as the company has gutted its trust and safety workforce.
Mr. Zuckerberg, you and the companies before us, I know you don't mean it to be so, but you have blood on your hands. You have a product. You have a product that's killing people.
Graham went on to call for the repeal of Section 230.
That's the federal law that protects websites and social media platforms for their content moderation decisions and from lawsuits stemming from user-generated content. Former President Trump's legal battles. Presidential candidate Nikki Haley is now again attacking Trump for his legal woes.
The New York Times reports that Trump spent approximately $50 million in donor money on legal bills in 2023, citing two unnamed sources. NTD has not verified those numbers.
Haley responded to the report saying it's another reason Donald Trump won't debate her, adding that he can't beat Joe Biden if he's spending all his time and money on court cases and chaos.
According to the same report, $50 million is about how much Haley raised across all her committees in 2023. Haley also attacked Trump last week after a jury ordered him to pay over $80 million to writer E. Jean Carroll.
Who's a loony
Just on
bin.
Tuesday, Hotelier reportedly said he agreed to donate $20 million to a pro-Trump group. Robert Bigelow says he gave the former president $1 million last week with the promise to donate 20 more.
Bigelow told Reuters that the $1 million was for Trump's legal fees, while the 20 will be for campaign purposes. The owner of Budget Suites of America says Trump is being unfairly targeted in the criminal cases and that his sympathy towards the former president motivated the donation.
And today, Trump is expected to meet with the Teamsters, one of America's largest worker unions.
The union has around 1.3 million members and was founded over 100 years ago.
The meeting comes as the economy is shaping up to be front and center in this year's election cycle. Trump and Biden are both expected to target union votes in battleground states. And Trump's special prosecutor Nathan Wade reached a temporary divorce settlement with his...
Thank you, Pat.
Of course, Uldos, today the Senate Judiciary Committee held a hearing on big tech and the online child exploitation crisis. You had the CEO of Meta, Mark Zuckerberg, turning around in kind of a rare moment in Congress, addressing the parents and apologizing for the impact that his platform has had in this. There's bipartisan support of 5 bills that would hold the social media companies accountable for this sexual exploitation. What was your takeaway from today's hearing?
I think the takeaway was that the online platforms don't really want to be held accountable, but also you could tell that all of the senators all coming together to basically unite and make them be held accountable. I think that's a beautiful thing, that everybody can agree on protecting children, which should be the primary thing that everybody should focus on.
In his opening statement, Zuckerberg said there was no causal links between his platform and mental health. He was later challenged on that by Senator Josh Hawley of Missouri. Zuckerberg's response to many of the committee's questions, saying he doesn't agree with that characterization. You founded RA to protect and prevent victims of imagery and video-based sexual abuse. As a survivor of image abuse yourself, what do you think of his blanket denials?
I think it's pretty ridiculous because even their internal investigations show that there is a bunch of mental health issues, and their platforms are, not really good in protecting children, women, and, just in general, just the mental health overall. So I think he knows, and their internal, business and all that, they all know what they're doing. It's just unfortunate that they're blatantly lying to everybody's faces like that. So what needs to be done is that there needs to be legislation, and that way we know for sure that they are being held accountable.
Senator Hawley, again, grilling Zuckerberg. We have some sound of that. I want to play that and get your response on the other side.
It's not appropriate. Decisions. Do you know who's sitting behind you? You've got families from across the nation whose children are either severely harmed or gone, and you don't think it's appropriate to talk about steps that you took? The fact that you didn't fire a single person? Let me ask you this. Have you compensated any of the victims? Sorry? Have you compensated any of the victims? These girls, have you compensated? I don't believe so. Why not? Don't you think they deserve some compensation for what your platform has done? Help with counseling services, help with dealing with the issues that your services cause?
Are a pretty raw moment right there.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the Section 230 needs to be completely removed, and FAM will need to be able to hold these, platforms accountable and be able to sue them. So now more than ever, more and more parents are coming together. They lost their children, they have mental health issues or, other issues. So they're actually suing Meta, and I believe that that's something that he needs to come to families to basically do what's right. That's just bottom line.
Uldos Wallace, really appreciate you joining us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Abuse material as a student, I had an impact after loaded for consecutive years. While I was strong enough to make pictures, it's not.
I found from him and had avoiding and I reached out to Twitter or now responded. We reviewed the content. We did not find a violation of our, so no action will be taken at this.
How many more kids like Matthew Like Olivia.
Like Riley.
How many more kids will suffer and die because of social media?
Big tech failed to protect my child from sexual exploitation.
Big tech failed to protect me from online sexual exploitation.
And we need Congress to do something for our children and protect them.
It's not too late. It's not too late to do something about it.
Very startling testimony right there from people who have been impacted in such a negative and adverse way on social media platforms. Now, during their opening statements today, the CEOs gave the assurance to the Senate Judiciary Committee that they will work with Congress on matters to protect children. Here's what some of them had to say.
Every day, teens and young people do amazing things on our services. They use our apps to create new things, express themselves, explore the world around them, and feel more connected to the people they care about. Overall, teens tell us that this is a positive part of their lives. But some face challenges online, so we work hard to provide parents and teens support and controls to reduce potential harms. Being a parent is one of the hardest jobs in the world. Technology gives us new ways to communicate with our kids and feel connected to their lives, but it can also make parenting more complicated.
Now, although the average age on TikTok in the US is over 30, we recognize that special safeguards are required to protect minors, and especially when it comes to combating all forms of CSAM. As a father of 3 young children myself, I know that the issues that we're discussing today are horrific and a nightmare of every parent. I am proud of our efforts to address the threats to young people online from a commitment to
That's our slogan, Reign in Big Tech.
You know, it's staggering what you're talking about, and it's really atrocious and it's outrageous. You can give so many adjectives to this, but the bottom line is, based on what you're telling us, our children, our country's future, are in trouble. I want to take a break so that people can digest this, and when we come back, Donna, on the other side of the break, I'd like you to talk to me about some possible solutions to prevent this kind of atrocity from happening to our children. Today, look, I don't know you personally, Donna, but I think that because you're a champion of trying to help children, you would have hoped that people would have joined on with you so that all of you can work your way out of a job and say, hey, everything's okay for our children in America now. But it hasn't happened. Why?
No, it hasn't, and that's a great point. For a number of reasons. If you look at how to make the internet safer for children, we proposed back in the 90s, and we're still working off this model today. That is, it takes a shared responsibility, everybody doing their part, okay? So parents have got to be educated, equipped, and empowered, but all of the burden pretty much has fallen on them most of this time. So we do a lot of work there, and we talk about what parents need to know and what they can do as we get towards the end of this interview. But the other is corporate responsibility and accountability. As I talked about in the beginning, the internet started as anything goes, completely open, all right? And even though Congress passed laws in the early 90s, I was part of all of this, most of them, in fact, all but one was struck down at the Supreme Court. The internet was so new. We were trying to extend laws that protected children from all the stuff we've been talking about to the internet, okay? So Congress took action, but the Supreme Court didn't uphold some of these laws. I think by and large, they didn't really understand it that much at the time. Then social media comes into this, okay? So all this time, these businesses and these companies have developed their technologies as the internet has evolved, but have not factored in safety as a driver, all right? We call that safety by design or safer by design. So now they're having to pull it all back. You know, after you've already invented the wheel, how do we make the wheel safe, so to speak? Which is kind of hard. And that's what we're dealing with right now.
So I've got to ask you, have any of these corporations, knowing that you're out there on the front lines, have any of them come to you for advice or even consultation about how they can regulate themselves and better safeguard our children? As you've mentioned, and rightly so, some of the CEOs of these companies will never let their children touch social media until they're 18 years old. A few of them have reported.
Right. Well, over the years, we have worked with some of the tech companies. And let me just say this, Enough is Enough has been joined. When we started, there were 2 NGOs. Now there are hundreds of NGOs. Why? Because you've got this pandemic of problems from
grants from government agencies. In other words, close to 50% of the money is coming from our own government or government agencies in general. And the majority of that money was coming from the State Department. Meaning, yes, as I said many times, the State Department is funding this. But some of this, it notes, also comes from the Department of Homeland Security to this individual organization, which could bring about some problems given that Mayorkas may have some ties to it. It notes that this is according to the group's tax filings and to other sources, with the balance coming from a mix of major corporate sponsors and other sources. Further, it states that UN budget documents, United Nations, federal grant tracking databases, and other public sources show that the State Departments, PRM and USAID, also have poured taxpayer money into at least the other religion-oriented NGOs that CIS, this Center for Immigration Studies, selected for examination, including Catholic organizations, Lutheran organizations, and Seventh-day Adventist groups. It says the list of participating NGOs comes from the UN's 2023 to 2024 Regional Refugee and Migrant Response Plan, which lists more than 200 of these groups, notably on page 268 of that document, if you want to have a look. It says the Center for Immigration Studies has exported that list in this report, which you can find as well if you want. And notes that another 20 NGO groups signed on for the coming year, 2024, meaning this is getting larger, because remember also there's a threefold increase of the budget for the United Nations side of it through the IOM. It notes that these groups, these new 20, are not yet being identified. But the State Department, it says, and USAID also sent historic volumes of cash to the Latin American project's main United Nations overseer, which also passed that aid straight to migrants. And now remember, we talked about IOM. There's also the other one, United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, UNHCR, as well as, of course, the IOM. It says the State Department's PRM has given IOM, International Organization for Migration at the UN, $1.4 billion in just the last 12 months, by far the most on record, according to usaspending.gov, a database that tracks federal spending. And folks, we've been telling you all this for a good while now. Again, the special feature, border deception, if you watch that special feature and you see me surprised, it's because you're watching me in the process of uncovering this. Legitimately, I did not know about this before I set out to investigate it. When I was on the ground in Texas and touring the border and went to the Mexico side, I was coming to understand and uncover this. And of course, when we went to the Mexico side, we started finding all the United Nations documents on the ground. We were shocked. It was not publicly disclosed.